Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Hey, guys. Guy here. Great to have you. If you thought that Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams were the last signings just at the last second before the NFL season begins, you're incorrect, because I'm very excited to tell you about my favorite Mexican artisan kitchen. It is back, baby. Pesto. The 49ers play a home game on Monday night at Levi Stadium. And if you're going to the game, there's only one place to go eat. Well, actually, there's two, because they have two locations in Levi Stadium. I love this place. I love eating there. I was just in La Jolla not long ago, swung by Pesto. They have two locations in the Bay Area. In addition to the Levi Stadium locations, they got San Diego, they got Orange County. We're talking about tacos. We're talking about margaritas. We're talking about pre and post game, the tequila, the fresh strawberry, the fresh lime juice. And I think Pesto has to be, I'm hearing whispers, they may be the only restaurant that in their stadium location is making fresh tortillas. That's what they do. No one's doing that in America. No way. So you got your tacos, you got your burritos, you got your margs. If you're going to the stadium on Monday night for the Niners opener, two locations on the concourse, go see Pesto. If you're in Southern California, San Diego, Orange County area, or if you're in the Bay Area, like a lot of you are in that footprint, you can also swing by their locations. Bay Area, they got one in Concord. This is a first-generation, Mexican-American, family-founded, Niner fan cheering. Eric Adler, the big Niner fan, I was talking to him yesterday, is fired up. For me, there's so many great options, but my number one pick, if you're looking for a pick, and you can get this at Levi Stadium, the short rib quesadilla taco. Okay, that's my number one pick, the short rib quesadilla taco. The filet mignon, the chicken al pastor. Did I mention the margaritas? So it's great to have Pesto on board here. Again, the food is fantastic. They also, at their physical locations, have the Taco Tuesday, which is starting at 3 p.m. If you dine in, half off all tacos. Can't be beat. Anyway, for those of you watching this video, listen to the podcast, thanks for allowing me to start with that. And thank you to Pesto for jumping on. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can just scan the QR code. Bam, right there. And check out their menu. Scan the QR code and check out Pesto's menu. Pesto, Eric, thanks for jumping on the podcast this year. And everybody, if you're going to the game, go to Pesto. And if you're looking to eat anywhere, it's the other 6 days of the week, check out Pesto. Here we go. Season is here. If you're listening to this podcast Friday or watching it Friday, Thursday Night Football occurred. And in that game, regardless of the outcome, what I know is there's two championship teams playing. I don't know. I need to know who won. The Ravens and the Chiefs are championship contenders. They just are. The Chiefs are a championship team, period, inarguable. There are a lot of games this weekend, 16 in total, 7 of which don't feature a single championship team. Neither team is a true championship contender. There's 7 games where if you told most of those teams, not all, but let's say Steelers, Falcons, if you told one of those two teams, you're going to win 10 games this year, you're going to host a wild card game. I would not host a wild card game, but you'll play in a wild card game. If you told one of those two teams, you're going to host a playoff game, they'd go, oh my God, you guys, we hit the jackpot. That's half of the games this weekend, almost 7 of the 16. Now, you might be thinking, which category did you put Browns Cowboys in, guy? Does that game have a true championship contender? No. But it does have Tom Brady. I'm very excited to watch that game. Recently, The Athletic polled fans. I love this. They polled fans, and a guy named Sam Hoppen from does a lot of fantasy data stuff for fantasy pros. He put together a graph, okay? And the poll that The Athletic had was they asked fans how optimistic they are that their team's going to win the Super Bowl this year. That is on one axis on a graph. And the other axis, the X on the bottom, Y on the side, is their Super Bowl odds. So, for example, the most optimistic team, fan base, Lions and Chiefs. But the Chiefs have much better Super Bowl odds. The second best Super Bowl odds by far, the 49ers. The fan base's optimism behind the Lions, the Bears, the Packers, the Texans, the Bengals, the Eagles, the Rams, the Jags. So, what's going on here? What's happening? All I know is failure. You hear that sometimes, like tongue in cheek from some Niner fans, but like, all we do is lose. You've been to the Final Four far out of the last 5 years. And of course, Super Bowl losses really hurt, especially when you have the lead, especially when you feel like how many chances do you get to beat Patrick Mahomes? The goal is the Lombardi. The championship is the standard. Blah, blah, blah. It's true. It's true. But sometimes all the doom and gloom can feel like a high school kid in Orange County mad at his parents because they gave him a Nissan Sentra for his 18th birthday instead of the Range Rover his best friend got. First world problems. Tempting the football gods to say, oh, you like pretending you have it bad? Let me go find you another defensive line coach to put in charge and see if you remember real suffering. Are they free of criticism? Of course not. There's plenty of it. It's not all praise. That element's very present. Even this article from The Athletic, separate article from Mike Sando, headline, NFL execs rank NFC teams. All right. So which executives think which teams have the best options, or which teams do they think have the best options to win the NFC? Number one, 49ers. Listen to this quote. Okay. This is from an NFL executive. Quote, there has been a lot of turmoil, and I don't think they're as deep as they have been in the past. Two of your most important players, Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk, have not practiced. At some point, hold on, stop. I stopped the quote. This person's about to be like, at some point it breaks you, and this is the year it breaks them. Okay, let's restart the quote. At some point, and this may not be the year because they're not even paying their quarterback yet, it's going to get more challenging. So the naysayer quote in this article is, well, at some point it's going to get harder. Yeah, no kidding. It gets challenging. If the biggest problem is that you have a $60 million quarterback, and we'll find out. I mean, he's probably going to be a $60 million quarterback. Will he play like a $60 million quarterback is one of the more fascinating questions in the NFL this year. Maybe the most fascinating question to me in the NFL this year is Brock Purdy going to be that guy? But make no mistake, they've got as real a shot as anybody. Again, like a real shot. Again. They're in very good shape. I do wonder, this whole offseason of Brandon Ayuk, Trent Williams, you almost forgot for 4 months that there's supposed to be a Super Bowl hangover. The good news is they've dealt with it before. And for guys who lost 2 Super Bowls like George Kittle, maybe it's particularly frustrating, but they've got guys who just lost 1 Super Bowl coming back hungry like Brock Purdy. Is Brock Purdy going to have a Super Bowl hangover? I mean, why would he? It's his first real offseason. Now, he is shooting a lot of commercials. I heard him on Ron Russillo's podcast say, got to provide for the family, doing those Applebee's commercials. He's all over. I haven't seen his commercial yet. I did see Dan Campbell's commercial, and it's admittedly very good. But Brock is out there doing what he's got to do. But he's all business. And I think if you're him, put yourself in his shoes. You're a young person. You've reached near the top of whatever field you've dreamt of your whole life before you're 25. You get to the very top and you come up just short in your first big opportunity. Do you think, I can't do this? Or do you think, oh my God, I almost did it. I can definitely do this. Have you ever watched like a kid try to go the wrong way up a slide? They try once and give up. Some of them maybe. Not championship kids, but plenty of them spend time and time and time and time and time again. The challenge, it's going to get more challenging. Yeah, that's the fun of it. That's the fun of it. The chase. You'd want to win it in the end, of course. But this idea that these guys are going to come back somehow less inspired or downtrodden or broken or doesn't mean they're going to win. But I don't think they're losing because of that. There are huge questions about this team. The biggest one we probably haven't even talked about because there's so much other stuff going on, A, and B, when we have talked about it, it's hard to talk about because this person is just not really a preseason guy. And that's Nick Sorensen. The defensive coordinator doesn't make his money in preseason games. Makes his money in the preseason meetings, but doesn't make his money in preseason games. He makes his money starting now, going up against Monday night, the guy that maybe the 49ers wanted, not maybe, the guy the 49ers would have loved to have hired in Jeff Ulbrich. Maybe if this goes poorly, the next guy they'll hire Robert Saleh. Nick Sorensen is not a virtual unknown as a person to the players or to the organization, but as a defensive coordinator in the heat of the moment, a virtual unknown. Defensive coordinators can change everything for better or worse. Last year, it got worse, but it didn't change everything because the players on defense are really good and the offense is really good. Did you watch USC play LSU last Sunday? D'Anton Lynn, who took over USC's defense coming from UCLA, has changed the entire future of the Lincoln Riley era. Well, Lincoln Riley changed the future of the Lincoln Riley era. Lincoln Riley's got a good quarterback too, Miller Moss. But D'Anton Lynn, all of a sudden you look up and you go, oh, that's what it's supposed to look like. These guys are ready for a fist fight. The thing about college too is if you feel like, we don't have enough toughness, you can just go get a couple guys from a gritty program, come in and make them, a couple of your star players, and now you got a little more toughness. So D'Anton Lynn, some of you may remember if you go back to the post Steve Wilkes, post we gave Bill Belichick a call era of the Niner offseason. I was a strong proponent of D'Anton Lynn for the 49ers job, defensive job. I would have considered D'Anton Lynn to be the 49ers defensive coordinator. Anthony Lynn's son, by the way, is the defensive coordinator for USC. So he's got a head coaching job or an NFL defensive coordinator job if he wants it in his future. But if you watched that game the other night, you saw it changed everything. USC hadn't played a game that good defensively in several years. Well, what are the Niners going to be? They got really good players. They got players that are good enough to overcome things not going great. By the way, that would have been a good time to tell you that if you want to watch USC on Saturday night, I will be calling that game on Big Ten Network at 8 p.m. I cannot wait for that. Place is going to be awesome. Anyway, that's for 8 p.m. Saturday. Right now, that's the big question for the 49ers. Is Dominic Puni good? He looks good. If Dominic Puni is good, then their line actually improves from last year, believe it or not. Not a massive bar, but their line actually improves from last year. What about Trent? I've asked this question. How many snaps are you going to play? In the end, we know who those guys are. We know who they are, right? So then you get to the biggest question. Is Brock Purdy a $60 million quarterback? If he rolls back with the same year he had last year, not only is he that guy, but you'd feel good about paying him. Right? You go into the playoffs, maybe have a better game than last time, maybe have a better Christmas Day game against the Ravens. What would be the equivalent of was that Christmas Day? Yeah, Christmas Day against the Ravens. This year, let's say December 1st. You go play the Buffalo Bills at night. Sunday night football. The Bills are coming off of a bye. There you go. So there's your setup right there. It's going to be cold. Maybe it'll be rainy. I don't know. But there's your setup right there. And if you think like, well, this is it. Last dance. Think about the last dance, the real last dance, the Bulls' last dance. Was that what ended the Bulls was their best player, who happened to be the greatest of all time, walked away. if, with all due respect, because the man's a Hall of Famer, but if it had been like Last Dance, after this year, they're not going to be able to keep Steve Kerr around. They might have to make a decision about Scottie Pippen. That would have been tough. I don't know if Luke Longley's going to be back. Do we have enough money to keep Luke Longley around? I don't even remember. He was on that 97 team. We're going to keep Pippen, but Tony Kukoc might not be back. Like, that's this Last Dance. This is not the Michael Jordan Last Dance. Because then you know who left after the 96? Michael Jordan left. The best player on the team. That's the guy that left. So now at times, Debo's been the best player of the team. At times, Debo has been like an offensive Dennis Rodman. Kind of, but that's a bad analogy. Anyway, the point is, this may be the last version of this exact personnel group. But if the quarterback is good, then it's not the Last Dance. If the quarterback is good, sometimes you wish you could zoom out and see, like, where on the timeline are we? Where are we? Like our lives. Like, where are we right now? You'd like to think you're not even halfway there, but So if you zoom out on this team and go, where's the timeline? There's only one question you have to answer and ask. Is the quarterback a franchise quarterback? If the quarterback's a franchise quarterback, then we can pretty easily zoom out and go, timeline's got like 10 more years on it. Like a franchise. Does Brock Purdy improve this year? If Brock Purdy improves this year, then you can zoom out and go, yeah, the timeline's pretty long. We're in good shape. Trent Williams just said he wants to keep going, and he better, because you just gave him a bunch of guaranteed money. So, Super Bowl losses hurt. Offseason drama sucks. Sometimes you get really mad at Kyle Shanahan. Replacing him ain't the answer. This team's got it pretty good. They got it pretty good. They need to finish the job. Do they have a team good enough to do it? Yeah, they do. A comment from Bo before I move on to some other stuff. Guy doesn't like Purdy, huh? Bo knows how to get on the screen. I like Purdy a ton. Big pro Purdy guy. Big Purdy guy. Goldilocks, write him out. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. You don't get to. I made this analogy a few weeks ago. I really like it. When that company, JD Power and Associates, gives out the most reliable vehicles in America award, they don't do it on 1 year or 2 years. They do it on 3 years. 3 years to be the most reliable. To be the most reliable vehicle in America. So, all right, here is the NFL schedule. Let's see, I got this here for this weekend. What we got? We got a Friday night Brazil game with Packers Eagles. Big game. This is a massive. You know who's big this week is Big Dom, because they security concerns or something. I don't know. I just read the headline. Brazil. Big Dom, going to be a big week for Big Dom. I saw the Eagles. I have a buddy, Ed, who just massive Eagles fan, and honestly, it's too much. He just texted me. Sao Paulo beefs up security for Eagles Packers game as players raise concerns. So, and then he just wrote, Dom has landed. Apparently, a few weeks ago, if you want to know what a big deal Dom is in Philly, they had a big fundraiser, and one of the things that you could bid on was hanging out with the security guard. Trey Greenlaw's arch nemesis. Not really. So anyway, we got a Friday night game. That game is on Peacock, by the way. So if you don't have your Peacock after the Olympics, that game's on Peacock. I've got it. I got it early. Got it to watch Big Ten football. I got it a few months ago. They had this promo. It was $15 for the rest of the year, not per month, for the rest of the year. So, go check it out. Maybe you can get that promo. I don't know if you can. But we got some really good games. The Bills are heavily favored against Arizona this weekend. I kind of like the Cardinals. The debut of Caleb Williams, the Bears, for the record, going to be special. Houston, Indianapolis, love it. Jacksonville, Miami, I like it. Minnesota Giants. Now, those of you who watched the show going back to last year, are we going to get some answers to this? Sam Darnold does not have J.J. McCarthy looking over his shoulder now. And the big game, okay, Raiders, Chargers. I saw that Justin Herbert is going to play in this game. All right, Justin Herbert is not on the injury report. This is great news for the Raiders because you don't want to hear any excuses from the Chargers when you beat them this week. Oh, well, you only beat us because we had Easton Stick, right? This is the moment for the Raiders to say, Jim, you had a chance to come coach us twice. You didn't do it, and this is the revenge. So, big revenge game for the Raiders. Bo Nix, the Broncos, to me, very interesting. Mike McDonald, the Seahawks, very interesting. I love that game. That is a very underrated Sunday game. Now, I don't view Seattle as a championship contender at all, but they're a very interesting team because they're a good team. The floor is really high in the NFC West. The 49ers window to just walk through the NFC West, that window has closed with Stafford hurt and Kyler hurt and the Cardinals down and the Seahawks kind of down-ish. We'll see. I think they maintain their level. Do they up it a little? Maybe. Really like their OC Ryan Grubb. I think the thing with them when they fired Peter, or they moved on from Pete Carroll, was, are they going to hire a head coach that maintains their level of physicality and toughness? And they should bring it in Mike McDonald from the Ravens. So I think their floor remains where it is, which is high, but their ceiling is not high, but they can beat you, right? Like I'm just looking at them from an NFC West lens. Dallas and Cleveland, huge game, massive game, America's game. Brady, and just that game's in Cleveland. Jerry Jones did an interview with Stephen A. Smith today, or I guess yesterday. I think maybe it came out today. Whenever it came out, in which he said he made a comment about Dak in the next 5 years. He's not going anywhere. Jaden Daniels in Washington against Tampa. I think Florio picked the Bucs over the Niners in the postseason. That is truly a terrible pick. I mean, that is a wild pick. Sunday Night Football. Love this. Rams at Lions. Lions have so much talent. To me, the Lions are a classic regress team, except they're not. Like a team that performed the way they did last year with their history is a classic regression team. Like, not quite be as good, but they have such a talented roster that I don't see it. I think they're just going to be really good again. And then, of course, Monday Night Football. Jets, Niners. I mean, the Niners they have not failed me in years now. It's like every week. They just don't. Not only are they the team that lost the Super Bowl the way they lost it, which, it's like if they'd already won one, it wouldn't have been. But to lose twice that way makes everyone angrier. Then they got the Ayuk thing. Then we got this Purdy thing. Obviously, the Pearsall story became national news, right? People who don't know anything about football, don't care about football, saw that story. And then they don't just start at home with the Bucs on Sunday at 4. They start on Monday Night Football at home against the Jets. It's just crazy. It's like there's no off weeks for these guys, which is, great here. So that's the week ahead. Love that. And then the college football schedule is awesome. Big noon on Saturday morning is Texas, Michigan. What? Texas and Michigan? Welcome to the new college football. Sark is going to show up in a bright orange silk blazer. And, I loved calling Oregon, Idaho this last weekend. Loved it. It was a great game. The reality is 5 years, maybe 10 years, definitely, you're just not getting those games anymore. The FCS, power FBS team games, like 12-team playoff, then becomes 14-team playoff and maybe more. And you're just not going to have to go undefeated. And you're going to be more interested in making sure that every game you play is the biggest possible rating. You'll be incentivized to play great games. because you don't have to go undefeated. So those games are going away, and more games like this are coming. Texas at Michigan. Woo! That is for those of you, the West Coast, we could argue it. When you get a 9 a.m. game and it's Texas, Michigan, you roll out of bed. You can definitely argue for the East Coasters, like football, where you get to have half of your day before your 1 o'clock games start because you don't have 10 a.m. games. There's definitely a benefit to that. I could see that. For the East Coast viewer, the day games on Sunday, I think, are better. I would prefer that to just rolling out of bed 10 a.m. games. I'd like to, get a little Sunday in. But for the primetime games, the West Coast is better, right? It's not an 8:30 kick. It's not on Monday or Sunday night or even Thursday night. Anyway, 9 a.m. Baylor, Utah, solid game. 7th-year QB Cam Rising. The Brock Kittle Bowl, the Purdy Kittle Bowl is this week. Iowa State. Iowa, I don't know if you guys saw this stat. Iowa had more, I think, was it more or was it the same number? Well, I guess I didn't see the stat. Receiving touchdowns in week 1 from receivers than they did all the last year. Somewhere around that number. It was, 2 or 3. Anyway. Auburn. Colorado, Nebraska. I'm very excited about that game, part because I'll be at Nebraska next week. Boise, Oregon, and then the game I mentioned, Utah State at USC in the nightcap. The other thing I'm fired up about, I'll continue to be fired up about, is Prize Picks. Prize Picks code GUY. You deposit $5, you play a lineup, and immediately you get $50. Bam! Right in your account, and you can go play with that. I put out several lineups in the last show. I put together a quickie little lineup for this week as well. Let me show you this lineup here. If I got it. Boom, boom, boom. This is this is not my lineup for this week. This is just my lineup for tonight, for Thursday night. So if you're listening to this after Thursday, I'll have some other lineups for Monday Night Football for the Niners. I'll have multiple lineups for that game. But for Thursday night, so if you're listening or watching this after Thursday night, you can check me here. Isaiah Pacheco, more than half a rushing plus receiving touchdown. Lamar Jackson, more than 1.5 touchdowns. And Travis Kelce, less than 59.5 receiving yards. We'll be doing this throughout the season in a lot of the shows, a Prize Picks segment. Prize Picks is part of the sponsorship of the show this year, which is awesome because I legitimately, somebody who has not played historically fantasy football because it's too much trouble and too much work. I love Prize Picks. And right now through September, you can I didn't do it here because I just did a Thursday night game. I should have done it. You can add in a Caleb Williams passing yard number to your lineup because it's a half a yard. So you're just going to hit on Caleb every week in September. You get an automatic win with Caleb Williams, 4 weeks of free wins. So don't miss on that deal on Prize Picks because it's gone when September ends. Sign up today. $50 instantly in your account when you make a $5 lineup. Use the code GUY. You can scan the QR code to take you right to the link. You download the app. You go to prizepicks.com. There's also the link in the description of the YouTube and the podcast, so you can do it that way. But they all work. Appreciate your support of the show. Prize Picks, code GUY, GUY. And also remember the one we're really tracking this year. And this is what we're watching for in the Lions game. The Lions punter. I have the Lions punter combined with Brock Purdy's season passing total. If the Lions punter, Jack Fox or Jake Fox, whatever his name is, if he throws a completed pass that goes for over a yard, I guess he then we have to keep going and make sure that he doesn't, lose yardage on some completed pass. But I've got so many lineups here. But that number for him, it's half a passing yard for him and 3,899.5 passing yards for Brock Purdy. I feel really good about that. So I've got those two guys combined. $10 pays 30. The lineup I just showed you, by the way, was $20 pays 105. That's what that Pacheco, Lamar Jackson, Kelce lineup is. I made a big, I don't have it to show you here, but I made a big college football one for this weekend, which you can go do. So it's a lot of fun. It's so easy. I mean, for me, it's easy and it's fun. Like it takes 30 seconds, 60 seconds to make a lineup. and I make multiple lineups. You start doing it, you're like, oh, this is sweet. And all of a sudden I'm dialed in on the stuff that I wasn't going to be all that interested in before. So prizepicks.com or the app and use the code GUY. All right. All right. Appreciate y'all for the support. All right, let's look at some arguing here. 28-17 Niners. Niners are a 4-point favorite right now. We'll do Sunday and Monday. We'll do some Niner stuff. So don't you worry about that. That is getting in. Has Raider Guy seen? Here's a question. Has Raider Guy seen John Gruden's YouTube channel? What? John Gruden? No, John Gruden's YouTube channel. This is going to be, not to send you people away from my YouTube channel, but this is going to be an immediate subscribe. How long has he had this? He just, subscribe. Amazing. Gruden. God, that's good. No, thank you. See, this is why I count on you guys. Appreciate y'all. Question, is JP Mason returning kickoffs because Garendo is hurt? Great question from Papa J. Be a good way to get him involved. Would not surprise me. I guess you could go Cowing, but I tend to think that they are leaning with this running back thing. You know, that's the one thing I did not talk about. You know, big questions. Can they handle the new special teams rule? Generally, I would say they'll handle it the way they've always kind of handled special teams. It's going to be a little, a little bit more of the same. 49ers just getting started. Here's an optimistic view. 49ers just getting started, especially with this rookie draft class. Yeah, I mean, how much impact do you get? Is Renardo Green going to make it easier if you lose Mooney Ward or Diamador Lenore next year? Is Malik Mustafa going to make it easier to move on from Talanoa Hufanga, perhaps, if he's not a Pro Bowl player again this year? You know, those are some of the humongous questions about this team. Comment, the idea the Niners window closes after this year also implies the Niners don't develop or have good players behind the guys they have now, or that they won't add good players, which doesn't seem fair. We talked about this a couple months ago, and I'll mention it again here. The Chiefs won a Super Bowl because they have Patrick Mahomes, because they have Andy Reid, because they have Steve Spagnuolo, because they had two of the best corners in the game, because they have the best interior pass rusher, maybe the best defensive lineman in the game, Chris Jones. Partly. They also won the Super Bowl because their drafts the last 2-3 years have created a ton of depth on their team. If you go look at Kansas City's drafts, and I can't find the notes right now, or I would read it back to you. But if you go look at their last 2-3 drafts, they have gotten a ton of games, like actual gameplay from those drafts top to bottom. It hasn't been, well, we missed on our first rounder, but we hit on our fifth. It has been just about everybody contributing, high floor players. And when you look at the last couple of 49ers drafts before the 24 draft, so I'm talking like 22, 23, not a ton of depth created. This is when you need it. So really when they need it's 2025, right? To that point. So if this 24 draft is 4 guys that play regularly, now all of a sudden you have created a bridge. You have created a bridge that helps Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan and Nick Bosa, Brandon Ayuk walk over. But those role players, those high floor guys, those draft picks, those younger guys who are developing, they all form kind of the machine that then allows your elite players or your elite coach. They're like the pit crew for Max Verstappen or whoever is winning F1 races now, right? Like without him, like does Max Verstappen win the thing? Yeah. Can he do it without his pit crew? No. Does that pit crew with a lesser driver win? No. They really do go hand in hand, and that's where the draft class really comes into play. If somebody gets hurt, how ready? Tatum Bethune's got to play 25 snaps week 3. Can he do it? Can you win with it? So many great questions. I hate saying it here because it's like, it feels so like what everybody would say, but man, this feels like the most fascinating team in football again. Comment, shout out San Diego County Puestos. Yeah. They also got a Petco Park location. If you're going to a Padre game, the baseball season is in its final stretch here, but they also have a Petco Park location. Puesto, man. It's great to have Puesto. It is so great to have Puesto. Go get some Puesto. Monday Night Football. If you are going to Levi Stadium, they have 2 locations. And you don't have to be going to that game. If you're in California, they got locations all over the state. Scan the QR code on the screen or check the link in the description of this show and go look at their menu, tacos and burritos and margs, and you're living right. All right? Okay, everybody. I have a flight to Los Angeles coming up here shortly. I'm going to LA. If something happens in the next day or two, I got the equipment. I can be live from the hotel. College football season and the NFL season for me personally getting very busy now because this regular content, we got sponsors to do right by. We got you guys to do right by. I got things to say. We got games to watch. And also, I'm traveling almost every Thursday for college football season on the Big Ten Network. Next week, I'll be headed to Omaha. Direct flight. Fired up about that. But tonight, I will be in LA watching the NFL from a pretty nice LA hotel room. They got us hooked up this week and preparing for the USC football game. I did mention this the other day. It was so fun. Like some of the most fun I've ever had professionally in my life last Saturday calling the Oregon-Idaho game. Everything I ever wanted. So I don't want to be cheesy. It's your dream come true. Okay. I'll say it. And my crew's awesome. And I'm very lucky. Rhett Lewis is our sideline reporter. Yogi Roth is the analyst. They're both amazing guys. The crew, our producer is a superstar. And we got all kinds of support and it's fun and a great crew. And I'm very excited. So if you're chilling Saturday night or if you're at the bar, the beauty is it's the 8:00 game. So at some point it will just be the last game on. We'll see what the game turns out to be. But 8:00, it should be an incredible scene given that USC football is back, baby. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here.